What do we got?
We are live, and it's time for Real Talk. And I'm here this week with Kamran, Pasha. We're offering some real talk on Twitter headlines of the week. Twitter justice, I'm calling it. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. As we just talked in the early phase of the stream, and Kamran sadly got suspended. It's so unclear what the rules are on Twitter. But what seems to be the most popular thing on Twitter, Kamran, back me up, is this sort of push to sort of campaign for things, tell people off, demand things. And I want to focus on three specific examples while I got you here. Let's talk. So let's start first with Amber Heard. So Amber Heard and the Justice for Johnny Depp, hashtag Justice for Johnny Depp. That's sort of an interesting one because that's a movement I've supported and become part of because I do believe Johnny Depp is innocent. The tapes and the evidence that if you go and actually do the homework on this case and what is in what he's been accused of, etc., and how the judge in the appeal against the Sun completely wasn't paying attention and just ignored evidence and sort of made decisions that she was lying about. It's just a mess out there. And when you hear the tapes and everything else about, we call her AH to try and avoid the rules here. It's clear who's the troublemaker here. Be careful, use my words. But there's now one of the hottest stories out there. I know everybody's picking this up and it's getting a lot of traffic for a lot of sites, is sort of reporting that she's been fired, because I think a lot of people want to hear that she's fired or are trying to figure out, is she fired or whatever. Amber does have her own fans. Johnny has more fans. It's clear like it's a war of fans on the web. But the reality is, like, as I've reported, like, nothing is confirmed. Now, I've heard she's gone. I've heard she's gone from reliable sources that I don't know per se, but they're through people I trust that can say I vouch. One of them has exposed himself on Twitter as a friend of Johnny. I don't want to call it out, but this person is another one who's sort of confirmed, like he heard it from James Wan directly, that she has been fired already. And so there's a lot of reports out there. Sausage Roll is one.
And you revealed one of my favorites. She was the mysterious figure. I was following her forever. QWERTY, right? You know,
yes.
You got her on there.
Yes.
You got her to reveal her face, and I teased her about it. I was like, man, I've been talking to you for 9 months on DM, and you show your face to this guy. But she was saying that from, and she's a filmmaker. She's a real filmmaker. Like, and she was saying from her sources, she was saying back in like June that Amber was let go, and she's never deviated from that.
Correct, and I'll show her some love because she is. Jax
I love
here.
her. I miss her now that I'm not on Twitter.
Jax was a great asset in this Justice for Johnny, and I interviewed her over on Hugging the Cactus, and it was because people tried to expose her for sort of speaking, and she was a professional and out there, a real person. A lot of these people aren't bots; they're real people, and she came forward, and she was another one who sort of helped give me some insight that I'm trying to vet, et cetera. But yeah, the reality is, I've heard it from I've heard some sources from her, I've heard some other sources elsewhere, that the fact is, like, she's been fired, and so the reality though is, like, is Emilia Clarke replacing her? That no one can confirm that. Is Warner Brothers going to announce something? It seems like they're worried to. It feels like this has all been floated out there as sort of a test to see, can they get away of it? You know what I mean? I think is what's happening. But I'm curious because everyone knows my stake on this. I've put my, just a recap for those who haven't watched it recently. Yeah, the reality is I've heard she's already been fired. Like, she's been fired because she's uninsurable, is what I'm told. There's another thing about she's out of shape now, and that's part of the problem. They've been using that.
Well,
I don't know if that's true or not, but
that feels like it was more of an attack on her.
Correct.
That feels like it was leaked out to humiliate her because somebody really doesn't like her inside of Warner Brothers, right? Because the proper thing to do, even in a leak where you're trying to get that out there, is to just say, whatever other information, but not to make it a thing that she's overweight or whatever it is. That's done on purpose to shame her, right? Because somebody who feels personal vendetta there doesn't mean they're wrong to have that vendetta, right? I've been very publicly in support of Mr. Depp. Again, I don't know the man personally. I have a lot of friends that do know the man personally and are in support of him. My biggest issue has been I watched this particular kind of person. I've been in professional situations with this kind of person, who I'm going to call the woke white woman, right? Who is out there always talking about feminism, talking about this and that, talking about Me Too, who's out there abusing people and using, their status as a woman, specifically a white woman, as a shield to be able to get away with horrific stuff. I've seen situations where, powerful female showrunners have been sexually harassing male actors on their shows. I've seen it, right? With my own eyes. I know the people involved. And they were all this kind of character that was just hiding behind false feminism to do horrifically abusive things. And so this really touched me on a very deep nerve because I've seen people's lives destroyed by this kind of character that Amber is playing, right?
Yep.
In this story.
You can hear it in the tapes too, yeah.
Yeah, and she says, I mean, no one's going to believe you. You're a white man. No one's going to believe you. I've dealt with that character, right? And so that's why this angered me so deeply, even though I'm not an associate of Mr. Depp, because this had become a phenomenon that I witnessed rising the last 3 or 4 years of the woke white feminist who was abusing people and using her status to cover, right? And doing things as bad as Harvey Weinstein and using that status to cover. Right. And so to me, it's just unjust and immoral. So that's why I've been very passionate about this. But yeah, so this whole thing. I agree with you. I think that they are doing trial balloons. I mean, I think she's been out for months, but they don't know how to put it out there in this environment of these crazy Twitter fans, right? The stans. So how do they get this out there without being accused of being sexist, misogynist? So for a long time, they're sort of hinting that she was out. But now this thing about her being out because of her weight, that feels like an aggressive move as a screw you to the stands.
And I can add, I can't source it, so I'm not saying this is fact at all, but I've got people trying to say that she was drunk on the set and that they don't like her. Like, I'm getting tons of reports and I don't want to report it officially until I can confirm things.
I will tell you a very famous screenwriter, again, someone, who I wish I was as famous as this screenwriter, but he's a friend of mine, right? And he, he won't say it publicly, but he saw me talking about it. He sent me a DM saying, "Oh, you have no idea, man. One of my closest friends directed her in a movie, and he said she's the most evil person he's met in 30 years in Hollywood or whatever, right?" And she said the consistent thing I'm hearing from people is psychopath, evil. These are the words. These are coming from very high-level professionals who despise her and fear her.
Yeah. No, I've heard it too. So that's the reality of this, like, and the reality is like Johnny Depp. Everyone's like, he's such a pro. He's such a nice, generous soul, kind soul, etc. Look, I wasn't there, but I heard the tapes and I've heard enough, and there's no proof of anything else aside from her doing what. So that's why this whole thing is frustrating. But yeah, the reality though is she's trouble. And so, but what's interesting is there's a lot of reports, and I've been linked a lot. It's getting Popcorn Planet some love on some, and yeah, it's just, woohoo. Apparently, I reported it, but I didn't confirm it. That's how the news, just to show you, like, even they just run with whatever they can get to get that clickbait, to get the love. But anyway, at the end of the day, like, this is a story where the Twitter justice I think is doing good because there's evidence. There's evidence that if you go do the deep dive, if you do the deep dive on this case, you'll learn a lot. And most people I've sent to do the deep dive on this case always come back to me and say, "Yeah, I'm Team Johnny. There's not enough evidence here to say he did anything." But the stuff against Amber, the lies, the charity money she didn't give, so much stuff that just adds up. And you're like, this woman's awful. And the other thing I hear a lot of people just sort of, well, it was a toxic relationship. They're both, but no,
there's no evidence of that. There's evidence of one person abusing the other.
Correct. And that's what's so frustrating about this case. So this is one instance where it's happening. And you wanted to talk about it. And it sounds like we got similar stuff. And sadly, there's nothing new to report yet, except for the same things of there's a pretty deep rumor going on that I think from reliable people that she's already out, and she's been putting all this stuff out saying like, I'm going to be in the movie to try and save herself.
What's remarkable is now that this is trending and hashtagging and all of this stuff, if this isn't true, Warner's can just put out one simple press release saying, this is we stand committed to Amber Heard and excited to have her in Aquaman 2. They haven't done it. Amber hasn't put out a release. That's the smoking gun. If you want this thing to go away, if it's a lie, you just one sentence from a PR person will make it go away, and they haven't done it.
Agreed. And so she's out there trying to save face. There's a lot of stuff happening, but at the end of the day, there's not much here. And I want to thank you to the people. There were some hashtag justice for Johnny Depp from Sarah. Thank you, Sarah, for sending over that super chat. Vicky Nemo also sent it. Thank you for that generosity. David March, I'm so glad I sent that clip of Kamran. Andy, David is the one who made sure I got you on here. So David, welcome. And I see Ashley, Black Widow, she re-upped her membership. So thank you for keeping that going. And some other Justice for Depp became a member. Mr. G became a member. We got a lot of re-members as people are going. So thank you to all. Fabio, thank you guys for becoming a member. Again, if you want to hear the robot and interrupt the stream, use the streamelements.com/popcornplanet link. If one of the mods can put that out there for me, I'll pin it, and that way you guys know how to talk to the new Stream Elements is where you're going to send it to get a British robot to read your voice. You can interrupt, I forget what it is, $20 or something. It says on the bottom. Read the scroll. You can also super chat, etc. PayPal, Cash App, all the ways are down there. But thank you guys for all the support. All right, so Amber Heard we've covered. I mean, this is an example of Twitter justice where I do, because of the evidence, I think it's important to sort of justice for Johnny Depp. That's what we're trying to do, is get justice, right? Is sort of make sure the right thing happens. So let's go over to Ray Fisher. I don't even know your stance on this. We may not agree. Who knows? But Ray Fisher, you're up to date on the Ray Fisher story up to this point?
Well, I've been following it. I understand he came out with some new receipts today. I mean, I've certainly promised you, I've been hearing stories about the situation from people I know. That's all. And I can give the details.
Well, yeah, and I know because you're in some DC circles that don't agree with my take on this. Well, it's okay if we disagree. We'll be fair about it. But anyway, so my problem with Ray Fisher, for those that don't know, is he has never given us specifics. He's been very vague and with generalities, and then saying, well, I'm telling the truth because they haven't sued me for libel. And it's like, well, you haven't really said anything specific that's suable yet, is really what he's sort of walking this line. And it seems very clear that Zack Snyder was wronged. I do think they used the tragedy of his daughter to take over the movie. Like, I feel for Zack tremendously, and it does feel like Ray is just a friend of Zack. But Ray made this personally. He put out slander stuff about me, labeling me a racist and Jody, and it just wasn't cool at all. And so that's what really sort of sunk us into this, as we saw more and more that he was digging his own grave. And just recently, he was saying, oh, well, I never said Walter Hamada did stop the investigation. I said he attempted to, and I didn't let him, and the investigation was done. And then it's like, well, if the investigation's done, Ray, then what are you still doing? Like, they've made their decision. It's over. They're telling you to move on. Now the investigator himself has come forward, or she herself has come forward to tell him Walter Hamada didn't do anything wrong. In fact, he helped. Everything's out there. It's time to move on. We've done what we need to do. Everyone is sort of trying to say, like, it's over. We've done it. We heard everything, Ray. Nothing you showed us was warranted of what you want, which is also like clear of, I don't know what he wants. But anyway, I want to go to his latest response here. It's a little bit long, but let me go through it. So here are the alleged receipts. So we'll talk about whether this is a deal breaker. Prior to the Justice League reshoots of 2017, racially discriminatory conversations were had and entertained on multiple occasions by Warner Brothers Pictures executives Toby Emmerich, Jeff Johns, and John Berg. Had I been aware of these conversations in real time, I would have addressed them in real time. However, it wasn't until the summer of 2020 that these individuals who were in the meetings felt comfortable sharing with me what they had witnessed firsthand. So again, hearsay. Wasn't there.
Hearsay. Who knows? I have no idea what this is.
But everything is hearsay.
I don't know what this is.
But the fact that this is like now because Ray's saying it, it's like it's evidence. But I'm sorry, this is still nothing because you're not telling me who told you this. Could they have a motive? Why? What was said, etc. But anyway, now I'm already annoyed because he's alluded to this in Forbes already, and again,
so
nothing.
He doesn't have any direct evidence.
Correct.
I as a Muslim have experienced direct personal discrimination by XYZ person, right, to my face. I can relate those stories. This is like, what is this?
So thank you. We're on the same page. Let's keep going. When it comes to matters involving race, I always try to give the benefit of the doubt to those who may be ignorant or of their own biases. But when you have studio executives, particularly Jeff Johns, it's like he's got to just keep calling out specific. Jeff Johns saying, we can't have an angry black man at the center of the movie. And then those executives use their power to reduce and remove all black people from that movie. They are no longer entitled to any benefit associated with doubt. All right, so I got to pause again because that line is what he's saying is the problem. But he's making a jump to conclusions saying that they removed all the black people as if that was a racial decision. There's no proof of that. They cut the black people out because they had to cut down the movie. There was a clear line that Zack, I was going to say, hold on, the Zack has said very clearly there was a 2-hour rule. The movie needed to be 2 hours long. And that's why a lot of this stuff got cut, because they needed to make it 2 hours. So if there's a rule that even Zack had at the time to make the movie 2 hours, why are you saying it's racist that they cut that there were black people in the movie? He didn't cut them all, but yeah, he had to make some decisions and do what Warner Brothers wanted to make it more Marvel-esque. That doesn't mean it was a racial decision. It's a huge jump to conclusions to sort of put this one random line, which I'm curious, what? But even that, if this is really what it's all about, that he's that pissed and doing everything he's doing because Jeff Johns allegedly said we can't have an angry black man at the center of the movie. I mean, Kamran, is that worth all of this headache from him?
Look, this is what I'm going to say based on this. If these are the receipts, again, these are all secondhand interpretations on his part, right? What I will tell you is the people, again, my cadre of much more famous people than me, when this stuff started happening a few months ago, they started sending me emails, DMs saying, this dude is digging a grave for himself. And these are people that are really progressive, like Bernie types, right? Pro-Bernie types, in Hollywood. And they're like, I'm never going to work with this guy. This guy's crazy. And the general consensus, I've never met the guy. The general consensus of people at this level who are dealing with it, were like, this is a guy just seeking attention on Twitter, and he's gotten addicted to it, right? And now he's got this narrative that he's more famous from this narrative. I mean, I don't know him as an actor before this movie, and no
one does.
and I not going to know him as an actor after this movie, after all of this, right? And I didn't particularly care for his character as it was done in the movie. I don't know whose fault that was, whether that was Zach's fault or that was the reshoot's fault, but I didn't particularly care for it. And it's just striking me as someone who is, and I've worked with actors like this who believe the entire, like person who's like 25th on the call sheet believes the movie's about him, right?
Right.
And I've worked with people like that, and I've worked on shows where that person has gotten fired because that person, became like, no one has the energy for this kind of stuff. Person walking in and acting as if they're the star of the show and interpreting everything through this lens of this is an attack on me. Right? Because they already have this delusion as to their own role. Because the whole idea that Jeff Johns is saying this movie can't be about an angry black man in the center. I don't know any version of this movie where Cyborg is at the center of this film. I don't know any version of a script where that would have been the case. So that seems like delusion to me.
Well, apparently the Snyder Cut is all about that. Cyborg is the heart of the movie. We're going to find that out in his 4-hour version. Like that was...
God bless him. God bless him if that's the case. But even then, the Snyder Cut is 4 hours now?
Correct.
So you can do that. He's not, if you're having the Justice League, let's be real here. If you got a 2-hour Justice League movie, I'm there to watch Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman and maybe the Flash on the side. I don't know Cyborg, right? So
right.
I'm just like, that's not the common audience doesn't know him. So if that was the plan, that was never a good plan. And ultimately, the studio wisely said 2 hours, we ain't going to make it about this guy.
We're on the same page again. But let's continue this. So again, I'm frustrated because we can't have an angry black man in the center of this movie. Look, I guess that's not a great line. I don't disagree, but you weren't there. You didn't hear the context. Was it even said? And then there's so many questions. And then if that's the one thing he did, okay, it's not great, but he can never work again because he said an ignorant comment. And then the fact that he then jumps to, and then those executives use their power to reduce and remove all black people from the movie. Do you have proof of this? Like, do you have proof that that's why they did it? This is a huge implication of racism that they were removing these actors and because of they didn't want black people in the movie. That I don't know if this is now libelous. He's finally dropping things that now the people can respond to and decide whether they want to fight this. So it'll be interesting to see how they respond.
These are things that he has not experienced directly. Or at least what he's related here are secondhand information that's been given to him by people who knows what their agenda is. Right?
Correct. And always important to know who the source is.
Yeah, and then he is jumping to all of these factual things. Look, like I said, I've experienced some really bad stuff in this town directly, right? And I know that kind of stuff happens. There have been shows that I know of where I know for a fact the showrunner said, I'm not going to hire any Muslims or Arabs on the show, even though the show is about Arabs and Muslims, right? I know for a fact that happened, so that stuff happens in this town. I just don't know that, the evidence he's presented suggested that this was what the drama on this movie was about.
I agreed. So let's finish the rest of this. So he says, Toby, Jeff, and John were not ignorant of their biases. They understood full well that the racist rhetoric they chose to entertain in those meetings was offensive, discriminatory, and unacceptable. Furthermore, they dared not speak those things to me, nor any other black person associated with the film. Instead, they chose the cowardly route of gaslighting, complete with extremely problematic requests such as asking me to play Cyborg like Quasimodo. Why is that problematic? And forcing a scene to be reshot so they could highlight the existence of Cyborg's penis. This is the receipts? Like, what? Who cares? First of all, you're an actor. You got to do what you're told. These aren't racist things. They want to make a Cyborg penis joke. They're allowed. Quasimodo is an outcast who is like has the big eye. Like Cyborg is one-eyed outcast.
And
Total revel.
He's a sympathetic character because he hates himself and his deformity,
Yes.
but still has dignity.
How does he not?
Even in Justice League, Cyborg wasn't happy at what happened to him. Right?
Plays Cyborg like Quasimodo is not like. Why is that problematic? Like, what the hell does that mean? Does he understand who Quasimodo is? Like the book?
No, he doesn't because there's a projection. I guess the word Quasimodo means, like ugly reject of some kind. But that's what Quasimodo is, someone that is being dehumanized by others. And Cyborg is someone that is being dehumanized by this thing that's happened to him. So that's not a false analogy.
God, so frustrating. Unfortunately, those were just some of the issues. Of course, he's just adding some breadcrumbs, guys, so we can get more.
He's trying to get other people to send him
correct.
This.
It's exactly what my accuser. What my false accuser did, because she was lying and she had no evidence. What did she do? Oh, send me what you have because I don't have any, so please help me so I can have more, is what happened. And then everything looks more nefarious when you have other things smaller because it's under the lens of the one that's the lie.
Yeah, I mean, if this guy's got it, man, just put it out.
Drop it already. What's he waiting for? I mean, hold on. Let me finish it and we'll rant. We now know that leadership at Warner. We now know the leadership of Warner Brothers Pictures lied to the cast and crew of Justice League and to the world about Zack Snyder picking Joss Whedon to finish the film. Okay. The truth will continue to reveal itself, and as it does, there will likely be attempts to shift blame completely onto Kevin Tezora, Joss Whedon, but make no mistake, Jeff Johns worked intimately with Joss to overhaul the entire Justice League script, and while Jeff was not credited as a co-writer of the film, he was certainly an enforcer of the race-based discrimination that occurred during his conversations with Toby and John. Zack Snyder's Justice League stands as proof in opposition to that discrimination. I am indebted to the participants of the Justice League investigation that have put themselves at great risk to share the truth. I owe it to them, I owe it to my peers in this industry, and I owe to all black people to stay the course. Onward, gratefully, Ray. Accountability is entertainment. Walter Hamada owes an apology to all the participants of the Justice League investigation. Why? They got it done. You said it's over. Who cares? It doesn't matter how strong your opinions are. If you don't use your power for positive change, you are indeed part of the problem. Coretta Scott King. Look, I'm so. That's why I'm not making its own video, guys. So many of you wanted me to do this as its own. I didn't even do the last one. I'm trying to move on from Ye Fisher because
it's not worth even the amount of time we've given it.
This is now the hashtag I stand with Ray Fisher. Hashtag Borg life. I mean, they really are like the Borg. Assimilation is futile. Like they're just mindless drones, sheep, just following their celebrity leader without any proof. They just look up to him so much that I feel like this is where things get dangerous. Now, a lot of people will accuse Justice for Johnny of this thing. Oh, you're just blind to Johnny. No, I'm not. I've criticized a lot of Johnny Depp fans. I'm not a stan of Johnny Depp. I appreciate him as an actor. I've liked a lot of his roles. It's more the classic stuff than the recent stuff. But I stand up for someone who I see being wronged. And the problem is here, I don't see Ray Fisher being wronged. I see Ray Fisher stretching out vague general accusations, and then as he drops these receipts that his fans are like, see, nothing here proves anything still to this day, and it makes me more and more angry that he's I was gonna say, Cameron, the movie drops in like 2 weeks and he's still muddying the waters of Snyder Cut and Warner Brothers. Why? What is the end game here?
No, but because this is what this whole generation is, man. His whole identity now is this victim on Twitter. That's his identity. Right. He's gonna. I mean, I don't know how he's gonna monetize that, but I'm sure he's thinking of a way to monetize it because that's all that's left. He doesn't have an acting career anymore. I promise you that. No one after this kind of drama is gonna deal with this, right? No one. And so that's finished. And so he's doing this, and now it's just he's like putting himself out there, like quoting Coretta Scott King. Look, anyone who follows my now dead Twitter knows I'm a huge fan and follower of Malcolm X. And Malcolm X was an incredibly dignified and powerful person. Right. And and his whole thing was racism exists. And the way you transcend it is by becoming excellent, becoming so good that even the racists have to deal with you. And that's what the philosophy did. I work with people that don't like me and my religion or whatever, but they're working with me because I'm the best guy for the job. Even they sort of resent it. That's been the philosophy that I follow, the Malcolm X philosophy, right? Which is transcend the victimization. Doesn't mean there isn't evil and an obstacle out there. There is, but your power is inside yourself. That's not what this generation has been taught to believe in. And this generation, he's getting high off of these likes he's getting on Twitter. rather than building up his own power. I mean, you don't see Denzel Washington do this. I'm sure Denzel Washington in a 40-year career has experienced some really bad stuff that he's had to overcome, right? And he has overcome it because he has incredible dignity and power, and he's become like one of the greatest actors of all time, right? And so you don't see Denzel Washington doing this kind of degrading stuff.
Right. No, he doesn't. He would never do this. He would never resort to getting on Twitter beefs with people who are even calling him out. Just again, that was red flag one when he came after us, saying ignore the bullies. But I'm not going to ignore these two people who are dropping facts. So anyway, I don't want to dignify this with even further. I mean, literally Warner Media. Let's use my last thought on this, so I can hopefully move on and all you guys understand it. Warner Media, not Warner Brothers. Warner Media. Jason Kilar, the head of Warner Media, who he's cozied up to, and they're all happy with him because they're releasing the Snyder Cut. If you want to talk true accountability, Ray Fisher, you shouldn't be so cozying up to Jason Kilar, who absolutely knows what decisions were made and has approved said decisions. You're so focused on Hamada and Toby and all these. Who cares? The boss in charge of it all is okay with it. He is not going to rock the boat. He is letting Hamada stay in charge. Jeff Johns is still a producer on Lois and Clark, whatever, the new Superman show. Yeah. He's literally in the PR package, talking head. He is not going anywhere. They did not fire Joss Whedon. He exited. Whether that was done off the record or not, it doesn't matter to the trades. He exited. It wasn't Ray Fisher that took Joss Whedon down. It was the cast of Buffy who came and threw stakes in Joss Whedon. That was when he was done and over with. Ray Fisher has done nothing and gotten nothing out of this. And for him and the whole Snyder army to just be cool with Jason Kilar and let the Snyder Cut now get all this money for HBO Max, AT&T, that's not accountability. That's the entertainment that's supposed to be, accountability is greater than that, but it's not. Accountability was never greater than Zack Snyder's entertainment. That's where I get so frustrated by this movement. They would never give that up to have true accountability, because true accountability would be wiping the whole slate clean and saying we don't want anything to do with HBO Max. We don't want the movie. Forget it. Don't watch it. Don't download it. Everyone sign off HBO Max. If you really feel this way, Ray, it goes up to Jason. It doesn't stop ignoring him and playing like he's good because he makes the decisions. Well, no.
Because
Buck stops with him.
Yeah, he thinks that's the big boss. He thinks that's the big boss who's going to, support him and build his career up. They're all done with him. None of them want to deal with this anymore.
Correct. And then it's like, you see, I don't know if you followed that Nadria story, the writer from Superman and Lois, who was out there claiming racism.
I saw the original tweet when it came out.
I had some inside sources myself. The show was angry, and there was a lot of diversity in that show. A lot of people were just really frustrated with her, and she's trying to say, I'm not hating on the show. Yes, you were. You were totally kicking up a lot of steam, calling racist, sexism claims about the show, and some good people behind the scenes of that show, and it wasn't right. And of course, Ray picks her up and sort of spotlights her, but again, I'm so sick of it. That is not a good hashtag movement, in my opinion. No evidence, no facts.
When that young writer's tweet came out, I saw it and I said, "Oh my God, here we go!" Right? Because I knew what was coming, and then I started getting messages, emails, and DMs from people, very successful television writers, saying, "I know the people on this show. I know the showrunners of the show. These are good, decent human beings, And they're like, who is this crazy person? I don't believe her for 1 second, and I'm never gonna hire her.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, this again, she's become a mini version of this guy. She's just ended her own career.
Correct.
And achieved nothing. The show is going to continue on, and the industry has now come and created a fence around the show and the showrunners, because the people that know them say this isn't true.
Right.
This is, sometimes it doesn't work out. I've been fired from shows, and sometimes you're not the right fit for the show. Sometimes your work isn't there. One of the problems I'm seeing with a lot of young people is that the presumption that they get on the show, they must be A-level, A-list writer. And most of the young writers that I've worked with have a journey of craft still ahead of them, right? That's why I mentor them. On shows I've worked with, the young staff writer, I'm sitting there like, okay, the script doesn't work. How do I help this person figure out how to make the script work, right? And then you end up rewriting them completely and let them keep their name on it to preserve their dignity. And then hopefully you sit down and try to help them get better. But I'm still learning my craft 20 years into it.
Yep.
And the idea that maybe that she couldn't possibly be let go because her scripts weren't good enough, that's, again, this pathology of this generation, which is unfortunate, because all she could have done was walked away from that situation, said, okay, it didn't work out on that show. I just got a good credit on a good show, though.
Andy, thank you
this,
for breaking down all of these
Frank,
Hollywood stories and
another
giving them a rational context. Ray Fisher has burned me out and has killed my excitement for the Snyder Cut. I'm still watching it, but with less anticipation.
Thank you, Jeff. Jeff interrupted. He gave enough through Stream Elements to get the British robot to read that. Thank you, Jeff, for that interruption. Happy to break these down. I don't know if you could hear it. Sorry, Cameron, but yeah.
I did. I wasn't sure what was happening.
Oh,
so
yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Thank you. But anyway, yeah, Ray Fisher's burned me out. Has killed my excitement for the Snyder Cut. I'm still watching it, but less anticipation. And that's such a valid point, Jeff. And sorry to interrupt you, but yeah, that is the reality of just like Ray Fisher's not helping Zack Snyder right now. Like, I know he thinks he is, and it is, but no, the tension for the cut, I guess the fan base is into it, but they need that to be a hit if he wants to come back. And Zack Snyder has made it clear he wants to come back. He's left this movie as a cliffhanger. He's made it clear like he wants to do part 2, but the studio's not letting him. But hey, who knows if it'll ever happen. It's clear he wants to keep making these movies. And if that was the case, then Ray should have shut the hell up. Ray should have shut the hell up and try to like make this a positive, hey, slap on the wrist. We appreciate it. But thanks for being. And made sure his fans were polite and happy. But no, this is a war for Zack Snyder. He wants revenge. He wants vengeance. He wants them to be weeping and bowing to him, I think, at the end of the day. And I do think some of it is justified in that I've heard some terrible things happen while his daughter had passed that they did to him. So it's just frustrating. I want to root for him, but it's frustrating because it's the way he has his soldiers doing this of Ray, etc. It's not helping at all. It's dividing the fans. It's creating more toxicity. It's just a really frustration when I think he would have gotten more people on his camp and more people on his side had they not gotten through all this Ray Fisher drama. Nothing Ray Fisher has put out there warrants the length that this has been and the drama that he has been doing, and still to this day, nothing in this warrants what's been going on. So it's immensely frustrating. I want one more topic before I lose you because I know we only have
I'm for just a few minutes.
Yeah, but so I was going to say I wanted to go to our third topic, which was since you're a Swiftie. Since you are a Taylor Swiftie, hold on, I thought I had it here. We got to talk about this. So Taylor Swift, you're a fan as well, safe to say.
Yes, I
am. A lot of people are always surprised and they're like, "You like Taylor Swift?" I do. I really like Taylor Swift.
He's an incredible songwriter,
yep.
and she's a very decent person. So.
Yeah, super appreciate her. I've always connected to her songs. I loved 1989. Was a fantastic album that really got me into it. Anyway, I've seen her live. Like I like it. Sometimes I like pop music, and I think she writes a really good pop tune. But anyway, she got on my nerves today. This was yesterday. She put out this tweet. Hey, Jenny in Georgia. It was a Netflix show. 2010 called and it wants its lazy, deepless, sexist joke back. How about we stop degrading hardworking women by defining this horse shit as funny? Also, Netflix, after Miss Americana, this outfit doesn't look cute on you. Heartbroken. Happy Women's History Month, I guess. And so what she's, and a lot of attention because she sent her Swifties on it. What do you care? You go through men faster than Taylor Swift was the joke. Now, here's where I'm frustrated, Cameron. Because I say this again, I like Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift has done some stuff where I feel like she's a little full of herself. She's monumentally famous and has a lot of money. That can happen sometimes. But Taylor Swift, what the hell do you think Netflix is supposed to do? You want Netflix to spot check every script that comes out with some sort of like Taylor Swift rule that you are above, jokes or anything else? I mean, like, they didn't even edit Cuties. And they had a lot of controversy coming through when Cuties was there. And I would argue way worth and more important of a thing to edit than someone making a joke at your expense. Now, the other thing that frustrates me is we sort of talked about this in the stream. Steph, I'm going to call out because she made a good comment. Like, this isn't sexist. This is a reality. She writes songs about breakups with boys. She has made that her career and what she does. A lot of people know her as the girl who broke up with boys and writes songs about them. And she wrote quite a few songs about them. They're not saying she slept with these men. They're not slut-shaming her. This line here is just a casual, stupid, I agree, lazy, dumb joke. Is it fair? Maybe not. But at the same time, is it kind of true? Yes. You've become known as a singer-songwriter who sings about your ex-boyfriends. Now, that's more than some people. Now, I know there's people who have slept with more and done people. But again, this isn't about shaming or anything. You go through men faster than Taylor Swift. That could be a compliment. What I'm frustrated is like there's no context of what this is. So for her to come out,
she wrote all her earlier songs about breakups. She made money off her sorrow. Her calling this sexist or slut shaming is degrading to actual people that go through those things. This is a cry wolf situation. She needs to get over herself.
Facts, Paul. You just said exactly what I was just trying to get at. Like, I love Taylor, but my God, the ego on her, the ego to not only sort of call this out as if like this isn't true, but the ego to like Netflix after our documentary together. How dare you not like check all the scripts to make sure there's no Taylor riffs on it? Like she's above. Like we're not allowed Netflix. Like, what is Netflix supposed to do here, Cameron? As a fellow Swiftie, does this frustrate you like it frustrated me?
What I can say is I saw that. I saw that on the little window I have into Twitter, even though I can't post on it, and it wouldn't have been a tweet that I would have. I like to retweet Taylor. That wouldn't have been a tweet I would have retweeted. Right? That wouldn't be a tweet that I retweeted. And
he does not want to say mean about Taylor Swift. He's a true Swiftie.
but look, I will say this. I think it is unfortunate. I do think that she is very raw on that topic. That seems to be a topic that hits very close to her. It hits a nerve, probably exactly because what you said, because it is certainly the image she has created created a career out of for, over a dozen years. And so it is a little thing that maybe I would suggest now that she's in her 30s, it's time to let go of that. I think, when you're 18 or when you're 25, at this point, even in her latest album, which is very nice, it's a lot about boys, right?
Yep.
So, and there's Willow's a wonderful song, but it's all about a boy that, sweeps her off her feet and, makes her throw all of her plans away to follow him, right? It's a nice song. And whatever's going on in her private life, and I won't comment on that because in this town you hear all kinds of stories about everyone's private lives, but I won't comment on that. Whatever's actually going on in her private life, the image that she has publicly created is this. And so, it feels like what I will say is this: 1 year in isolation for all of us pushes us over the edge. Here is someone who has, since they're about 15 or 16 years old, spent their entire time in the limelight. On Friday, I want to see a reason where this may come from. I as I proudly said on Twitter before I was killed on Twitter, I had front row seats for her concert, right? That was
the Love
finally
Fest.
on Friday, that had been delayed since last year, and then it was officially canceled on Friday, and I was kind of bummed for that because the front row seats were quite expensive and they were really hard to get, and I got them, right? And so that thing of her concert essentially being canceled and the future of her touring career is utterly uncertain, as it is for all artists. We don't know what the world's going to be like even a year from now, whether we're ever going to go back to major concerts, which would be a tragedy if we didn't. But I think this is so for someone who's thrived off of a fan devotion and in the concert that you saw her in concert, I saw her live, she feeds off the energy of the devotion of her fans. And I'm a fan, right?
Yeah.
She feeds off of energy. You can see that as an artist, I love it when people praise my novels and my stuff. It fills something inside of me, right? She has something massive inside of her that needs to be filled, that constantly needs to be filled with this. And so now that she's not getting that, I think there's a lot of raw emotion that's coming out over stuff like this. And so it's not coming from, in my opinion, a healthy place psychologically.
Yeah, well said. I think. Look, I still love her. I saw this and I thought, Taylor, you're better than this. Like, don't let you were so talented, a legend. Like, who cares? Like, you just gave this show so much more attention than they deserved, and you're not defined by them. It was just more of a frustrating thing of like, I think she's greater than this,
which is unfortunate because remember it was Lindsay Lohan sued a song, a band that's locked up like Lindsay Lohan in one of the lines, right? She sued them for that, whatever, and it made her a mockery. People made fun of her, right? And this is the kind of thing that's going to make people make fun of Taylor, which is unnecessary.
Correct.
It was just an unnecessary.
Well, because it's like when she went after Kim and Kanye, like I saw it a little bit of like, come on, who cares? But she was right in that one. Like the tapes came out and sort of proved her innocence on that.
Absolutely,
and that one made sense. And she was, I think she was wronged in that, and Kanye especially has wronged her, been such a douchebag to her. So like there are people who have attacked her that I think she's been smart and politically correct, the correct way attacked when she needs to. This was, I don't know, this one just didn't feel like an attack. And I'd love female perspectives. Anybody in chat? Steph, I had a female on the other night. We talked about this, and she agreed this was a frustrating. We were on Planet of the Nerds, and she agreed. But
you said it perfectly. She's bigger than this. this is such a small thing. It is not a brilliantly written line in a comedy, right? It is, but it's so small and so far beneath her to even acknowledge this thing, right?
Correct.
It's so far beneath her to even acknowledge this, that it suggests to me that, you know, like all of us, she's going stir crazy in her room looking at Twitter. Like all of us, right?
Correct.
Maybe I've been kicked off of Twitter. I can finally get a life again, right? You know, I don't think this is healthy for anybody. It's not even healthy for her.
As David just said, as I said on the show yesterday, it just sounds like she was mad, and it would just who doesn't get mad at snide jokes on Twitter? Facts, but she's Taylor Swift, David. Like, she should know better, and she doesn't use Twitter that often. Like, she's very selective about when she decides to tweet. So this one was like, really? Okay.
Yeah, when I had Twitter, one of the things that people would mock me about was I like to post pictures of beautiful women. I love the beauty of the female form, right? And so, like, oh, you're a religious guy. How can you do that? I was like, what does that have to do with anything? Women are God's incredible blessing, right? Why shouldn't I post pictures of beautiful women, right? And when people would attack me, I would be like, this is so, well, you don't like pretty girls? What's wrong with you? I was above it, right? Because It's like, to me, it's so silly that you attack me on this. I wish her attitude had been, this is so silly that a show, I mean, I don't know anything about Ginny and George. I've never watched it, right? And now this I think she needs to get away from Twitter, just like I've been away from Twitter now. So
sometimes I think we all do. With that said, I appreciate you coming in. Overall, the Twitter justice, I think it sounds like more often than not, it sounds like it's wiser for us to just get offline. Occasionally, I think justice for Johnny Depp is a cause where there's just a lot of evidence to sort of help people educate themselves on why we feel that way. But you got to be careful, because you got to do your homework before you support any hashtag movement. Make sure it's something that you actually have the facts on, because I stand with Ray Fisher. To me, is another one. It's one thing to stand like, look, I support you as a person. Get what you need to do. Like, I understand that, but the people who attack Andy, how dare you? Why don't you try? Come on, he said that. Why don't you believe him? I'm not going to believe him until he drops actual facts or evidence. Like, I just can't do that until I hear both sides. I'm never just going to follow a celebrity. Tell me what what they say. So, any final words to the audience here as we wrap this up? We're going to stay here longer, guys. Don't go anywhere. But Cameron's got to go. But any final thoughts?
My final thoughts are, I'm glad I still have a life here on YouTube. If I may not have a life on Twitter again, if anyone wants to keep track of me, there's my website. You can buy my books on there. It's my name, CamranPasha.com. I have a Facebook, which I guess I've disengaged from it for a long time, but I'll engage a little bit more, because now that's my only social media outlet. I have an Instagram, which is my name, CamranPasha72. So now that I've lost my Twitter heroin addiction, I've been forced to go full turkey now. I hope you'll all stay in contact with me through these other venues.
Check him out on Instagram. There you go. Look up Kamran on Instagram, and do you have your Instagram? You should put your Instagram on here if you don't have it. But yeah, go check. You can sign up to his mailing list. You can go to his website, Kamran Pasha, if you like what he said. And you'll see him back here. I'll have him back anytime he wants to come on, because I love your inside take and everything else. You're not afraid to say you're not afraid to offer the real talk. Boom. Thank you, Kamran. Thank you guys for watching. Don't go anywhere. We're not done yet. Stay tuned. I'm just going to put an end card here for the live stream. Kamran, thank you so much for coming on. See you soon, buddy.
See you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, man. We are not done. We're just getting started. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned. It's time to get to your questions, comments, and maybe even some calls.